Welcome to Radio Fixer's channel. Subscribe for upcoming videos. This is part 4 of repairing 1946 monitor radio, model TC56M. I highly suggest going back and reviewing other videos regarding this repair to see the process that we took to get to this level. To rewire this radio, I had to select the wire be thin enough and can handle high voltage. I select this company because it's made here in the United States. This is a 22 AVG. That's a hookup wire. It's a UL 1007. It's a solid wire that it can handle, 300 volts. As you know, the post under the chassis that I have to hook up these wires are pretty small. So wrapping several wires in one post, if I select something like 20 gauge or 18 gauge, could be very difficult. But the good thing about this 22, it can handle again 300 volts, and they really did a great job. Let me show you inside. The port one I purchased, it came with different colors, as you see. So this is what I used. As we discussed in the last episode, this is the second IF transformer. Let's spend some time, take this apart. The crazy thing about this is, which I have not seen this any other radio, there's 5 wires comes out of this transformer. Up to now, every radio I worked on, it had just 4 wires comes out of the transformer, but this is 5. So the way you take this apart, this clip net to come out, I will show you how to do that. And this nut, we want to take this out too. But first I'm going to focus on the clip. It's much easier if you do this first before starting here. As you see, I put a note here. It means the red wires are here, this location when I'm installing it back. And of course, other 3 is other side. I mark the white one to different colors, and just to know where actually they're gonna be hooked up. To take this out, see, you press it down, and when you do that, it starts coming out from here. Then from here I can pull it out, let's see, like that. And this came out. That's how it was installed. See the loop, this is how it's done. So we know this is how it goes in. Then let's loosen up this one. Alright. You hold on to the wire. Sometimes it doesn't come out. So what you need to do, you go inside here, just press this a little bit, bend it. Just a little bit each side. Just a little bit. See, now it comes out. Alright, this is how it looks like. Paper they put here is some type of tape to make sure the end of the wire doesn't hit this aluminum can. That's all it is, aluminum can. Of course, I tried to fix this. I put some type of insulation, in it, the shrinking tube. Then as soon as I touch the others, see, it start breaking. Look, see how they're falling apart. 2 of them I did a color code. I used a highlighter. The 3rd white one I did not, because the 3 wires comes on it. See, these 3 that it comes out, originally they're all white. So I highlighted and said blue and white goes here. And here mark red and white goes here. Of course the white one comes here. The 2 other red, each of them goes here. From the bottom here, from here to this. There's tons of things going on here. That's why I need 2 pages just for just this section. What also I will do, I'm going to mark where the reds are hooked up. I call it R. Alright, so I know the red goes here. Of It's going to replace one by one, but it's always good to mark them. Need to figure out why they did this. Oh, found it. Dead spider right here. See? Yeah, it is a dead spider. When you work in this already, you find tons of stuff. One of them I found dead rat in the speaker. That's going to be a fun video for you to watch. It's called Rat House Radio. There's 9 video about that. Was a very interesting project. Anyway, spider, we don't need them. See how they did this? Sometimes they have capacitors, but the older version like this, there is no capacitor inside. So let's take it apart. I'm going to be very gentle with this because this wires part here is very, very thin. It's like as thick as a hair. So, and they solder them to each of these posts. So when you take this out, be very careful you don't damage anything. I'm looking to see where is the best place to go through. Right here. Because others, you see their wires right there. Be very careful with that. So I'm going to go right through here. Remove gently. Meanwhile, I'm removing and checking if there's any wire underneath. See? They paint inside of it. I don't know why. See, inside is silver paint. Okay, all removed. This is how it looks like. Well, it's amazing that they have this 3 wire. As I mentioned, usually there's 2. As you notice, like the other one that I worked on, these 2 red wire, one of them is solid, total solid wire, and the other one is a standard wire. I don't know why they did that. Why they didn't use both solid. Because the solid is much easier to hook up. I'm going to show you the difference. I have both of them. But I'm going to do what they did. We use solid here and use a standard here. Let's focus on this one. It must be easier if I can cut this wire, but be careful you don't cut anything else. Pull this out. Then this one I can pull it out much easier. Since those tiny wires are also soldered here, you should be very careful you don't unsolder that one. Okay, it's out. See, they put this over and solder it. Let's work on that one first. Again, work the one at a time. Don't take all of them out at the same time. It's going to be hard to remember. All the wires inside, as soon as I touch them, they fall apart like this. Create a big mess. Just want to show you. See, this is solid wire, total solid. This one they call it standard. Take some out so you can see the difference. You see, this is just one wire. See that? They call it solid. This one is a standard. You see, there's tons of wire here. See this? This they call it standard. This one I have to twist and then put a little solder over it. Otherwise, when you want to install it, it all comes apart. So that's the difference between these 2 wires. Okay? I'm going to measure the other one. If it's extra, you always can cut it. If it's short, you're stuck with it. Here, just I need to remove the wire just a little bit, not that much. The opposite side, this side, I need more space to hook it up to the tubes pan. But here, just a little bit. This should do. See that should do. I feed it through here. I'm going to solder right there. Okay, what I did, I turned on the fan. You always want to have a small fan sitting somewhere close to your workbench, so when this starts fuming, you take it away. Okay, the best way to solder this, because you don't want to put too much heat there. Remember, there was a very tiny wires hooked up to each of them. If you keep the solder over there too long, you're going to burn the other wire. The best way I know, add some here to your soldering iron. Put this wire right over it and do a quick solder. That's all it needs. I'm going to just hold until it dry and let it go. I'm going to show you. See that? I'm going to use the same concept to replace others. One thing I just noticed, you see there is a resistor here. That's pretty interesting. So I have to use a database, put these colors in it to see what the measurement reading is and test it to see if this is still a good resistor or not. Majority of the resistor in this radio, they were bad. See, it's right there. Again, this is the first time I see 5 wire and the resistor inside. Usually there's a capacitors. Never saw resistor. This really is pretty interesting. There's the stuff I never saw before. Alright. So I took a picture of that resistor on my phone to see what color is a yellow, purple, orange, and there is no band. It means this is 20% resistor. I'm going to key those into the database to see what's the value of this resistor. So sometimes taking a picture like this, see, you can see exactly the color. Otherwise here is so hard to see that. And sometimes more resistor is hard to tell the colors. But here in the picture it shows me perfect. Alright, we're going to test that as well. So I key those into the database. The database shows that is 47k ohm. So I already hooked this up. It shows 203k. Definitely that resistor is very, very off. Database shows that's a 47k. The minimum is 37.6k, maximum 56.4k. So this is definitely very, very off. Darn, that's going to be hard to change that resistor. One thing I learned about this, sometimes a resistor hooked up to the coil or capacitors, it shows way off, but when you take it out and measure it by itself, they are fine. Majority of time I take the resistor out, and again when I test it, they are not off. But when it hooked up like this case, you know, it shows off. I assume because it's picking something else up right there. It's going to be tough to take apart because there's so much of those thin wires are hooked up to it. I don't want to mess them up, because if you cut any of those thin wires, see like that, see if one is up here, if that been cut, then it's going to be tough to repair it. I repaired them in the past, but it's tough. You see how tiny it is? It's like a hair that thin. Alright, let's continue. You remember the standard wires, since they come apart like that, you know, of course I twist it, you know, you have to tent them. You have to add some solder to it so they don't come apart like that. Just quickly, you know. Then when you solder it, it just become one instead of a bunch. I did both sides. That makes it much easier for installation. Otherwise it's a struggle. Okay, this is the last one. Was right there. You remember in my drawing I wrote white and red, so I'm just going to put a little mark here so I know this is different than this one. All, as you remember, was all this tree was white. Again, the reason I'm marking them so I know where they go for installation. I'm going to bend this a little bit. There's a little hole here, right here, so I can send the wire through it. That's why I bend it a little bit like that. I'm going to fit this through that hole. Since this is old cardboard, I don't want to force it to break it. That's why I'm doing it this way. Okay, it's right over the hole. Now I'm gonna heat it up, it's gonna go inside. So I heat it up, see it goes inside the hole much better. Okay, that was the last one. And what I did with this resistor, I forgot to video it. I unsolder one side. After I unsolder it, I measure it again, and it was acceptable range, so I do not need to replace it. As I say, sometimes, you know, you might maybe need to unsolder one side and test it. As you saw, the reading was way off. I assume was picking up all the coil, you know, that's why it was so high. That's what I learned from resistor. When I remove them, test them, majority of time they're in the acceptable, reasonable range. The reason they put that cardboard, so all this connection, it doesn't have the aluminum when it's inside. Alright, so I have two options to do that. I can use this tape or electrical tape. The problem with this tape is the paper. Through the years, you know, it's good for masking things off, but it doesn't last as long that electrical tape. So I think I'm going to put electrical tape around that, because this, even if it dry years from now, it doesn't fall apart. But this will. So I think I'm going to use that again, but you have two options to do that. Around one time, I'm going to cut the extra tape off. Now this is ready to go back to this. This is where it goes. That's why I marked them. See? It goes in. Make sure this screw come out from the other side like that. Put my finger holder like that. Put this in first. This nut. I think this is 8mm wrench. As soon as stop, let it go, don't force it. Okay, then we're going to install this. Remember, it was going this way, not other way, not upside down. It should be this way. See how the bend? You go here, make sure it doesn't hit any wire. I'm going to get this screwdriver. I'm going to line it up here. When it lined up, I push it through. See it stick out a little bit, you just press it down. See it comes out from here too. See that? Here and here. So this is going to be ready to be installed in the radio. They're all new, so I don't need to worry about it later on cause any issue. Alright, what I'm doing here, I'm looking to work in this area. I'm thinking which it make more sense, should I install this first or do more wiring then install this? To make that decision, I'm going to look to see what it needs to be done to this tube, the last one to the top, because there's tons of things going in, as you can tell. This is the reason I break it down again, because there was too many things happening here. So now why I'm installing capacitor in the end, because the majority of time those are the first thing you're going to replace, so it'll be easier to remove them for the next person who are going to work on this radio. You have to think that way, you know, not thinking just about myself, and think about the next person who's going to work on this. Because as you know, those capacitors every 10 to 20 years it goes bad, you have to replace it. Majority of them about 20 years or so. Resistor doesn't go that bad that often, so that's what I'm going to do. Wires first. Let me work on that. Also, what I thought, I'm going to install a transformer in, because the screw is going to be much easier to lock it before put more wires here. I learned that from here. I'm not going to hook up the wires from it. I'm just going to hook up the transformer, I tighten up the screws, and then I push the wires aside. Do the other thing. I will show you. It's not looks like a regular nut. It's a little weird design. It's hard to get it in there. As soon as it stop, let it go. Don't force it, because it can't break. Now I can push the wires aside. Now you see why I did that, right? Can you imagine all the wires goes there? How I'm gonna put that nut in there? From this pen, if you count this, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So pin 4 and 5 was a jumper, which is installed. Then 5 and 7. And then from here, pin 7 to pin 1. Okay, so all those was installed, as you see. So what I do next, I come here and check all these things so I know that was taken care of. So next thing to do, I'm gonna hook up these wires. This one goes to pin 5, another one goes to pin 6, and there's one of the one come all the way here. So let me install those as well. This I'm gonna wait until install this. This is the switch. I want to have a space here to be able to do all those. Need to test this resistor which I removed. Make sure they are in the right range. If they are not, then I need to replace them. Of course, this capacitor will be replaced too. Then I'm looking through this page to see what else. This one from pin 8 to 8. Maybe that's what I need to install next. Then install this. So let's focus on this page now. So the blue goes to number 5, and that is our blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. Let me hook these things up. I am testing this capacitor between pin 1 and 2. I had to remove it to clean everything up. Now I'm going to test it hooked up here. Let's see what it says. It's a red, brown. So it's 205 picofarad. Now I'm going to key these colors, red, brown, into the database. Let's see what it tells us. Alright, let's check that out. This is going to be right here. It's a 3 dots. Let's select this. Then here it was red, brown. So is a 220 picofarad. Minimum can be 176, maximum 264. So this one is in good range. I'm going to use it. I'm checking all the capacitor and also resistor, make sure they're all fine before, installing them. So let's use that one. This is a good one. Again, I built this to make my job easier. In the past, I had to go from different website, and then it was so hard to figure these things out. So finally I said, you know what, I'm going to design my own to make my job easier, So I spend more time working on radio instead trying to figure these things out. All right, finally, after days of work, the wires are done. Just a couple of them here I need to replace, but everything is set. All the resistors are installed, and next thing I need to install the capacitor, and then in the end I'm going to install those other larger capacitors. There's one 50 microfarad and another 30 microfarad that's going to be installed. This capacitor right here, of course, that was installed, and there are 6 more that I need to install here. So let me work on that. Alright, all the capacitors are installed. As you can see, there are 7 of them, as I mentioned. There's one of them, of course, is up there. So they're all installed. Next thing I'm going to focus on the wire. This goes to variable condenser or tuning condenser, which is, see, there's 2 wire here. That also need to be replaced. One of them, as a matter of fact, as soon as I touched it, they start breaking off. The thing was, this one, they wrapped it 3 times around this. Was 3 times around this. Then it goes here. As you see, as soon as I take it off, it starts falling apart. So all the wires was bad, include this one. And I want to change this one as well. So let me unsolder that and replace that. I don't know why they wrap it 3 times around this. Should be a reason. I want to do exactly what they done. Alright, let me unsolder it and replace all these wires. That's the last wire I need to replace. Alright, this is soldered this side. Now I'm coming this way and I'm going to wrap this 3 times like the way they did. That's 1, that is 2, that's 3, then it goes right here. It was the 3 wires. There was one here that it was looped 3 times over around this one that it goes to antenna, and that one also is being replaced right there. So next thing what we're going to need to focus on, well, I'm going to install this speaker transformer. Let me look through the notes to see how this was hooked up. If we look through the note that I took, the black wires goes to number 2, tube 50A5, and the brown goes to pen 4. So let's install that. I'm going to press these 2 wires through that hole over there where the speaker was hooked up. So those are secondary. Secondary goes to those holes right there. As you remember, it was 2 screw and not here. So I'm going to install that before hook up this side. Again, as soon as stop, let it go. Don't force it. Okay, both sides is installed. Alright, let's now solder this one as well. And the primary both is hooked up. And now we're going to focus on secondaries, hook up to a speaker. Alright, everything is done. I hope everything is done. You're going to find out soon, right? When you look at this crazy thing, look how much wire goes everywhere. Hopefully it will work. We're going to find out soon, right? If I miss one wire or, forgot to add or put it wrong place, it will not work. At this time, I want to take the opportunity and thank my subscribers with their uplifting comment. You always encourage me to upload more videos, since this is just a hobby of mine. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy all these videos, and you all have an awesome day. Take care. If you're interested to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you will be notified when new video being uploaded. You have a great day.